here's the dash. What you get is an ABS. You have a check engine. You have a high beam. You have an oil change indicator, which you can set to whatever miles. You have an oil level, I guess, or oil pressure. These will go off as soon as you start moving. If everything is working fine, your ABS and your oil will go off. You have a temperature gauge. You have turn signal indicators, which are nice and bright. You have 2 trip meters, a clock, and you have what you're actually getting miles per gallon. And as you can see, it's at 65.9. I ride this bike pretty hard. And a fuel gauge. I like these handlebars. They're nice because you can add things to them. They're not all covered with plastic. You can put ram balls on them. You can put mounts. As you see, I put a mount on for my GPS that I bought. The functions for the key are as follows. You have an off. The second position is an opener. And at the opener position, it allows you to open the box, which is this side. This side is not lockable. It also allows you to open the fuel tank, which is right there. And it allows you to pop the seat, which is there. I cannot get a full face helmet under this seat. Honda says you can. I have a small head. I wear a small size helmet, and I cannot get my full face helmet underneath this seat and close it. Now, as far as carrying a passenger, I always want to have a second option to lock the second helmet up. You don't want somebody to steal your helmet. So they give you this. Some bikes have like a clip that you can lock it into. This one, you use this stud. So you feed this wire through your helmet, and then you just set it on top of that and close the lid, close the seat, and that's how you lock your second helmet on there. But there is a way to do it, which is very important. Going into the under seat here, this piece comes out. There's a little cubby back here. It's not very deep, but it's enough to hold your license and registration, you know, whatever you don't want just floating around in your toolbox. Nice little tray in here. It's not very deep, but this space is a little deeper under here. That may be where the battery access is. Oh, these things are chill. They're so nice to ride. But another thing they do that is pretty cool is this key has got a special fitting on it. So when you get off your bike, there's an option here to slide this over, and you'll see what it does. It makes this metal piece slide over your ignition. And I think it's some kind of like, besides blocking this from being punched by like a screwdriver or something, I think it also shuts off your fuel pump or something like that. And you can't open it back up unless you use this special tool here on the key to open it. So that's handy. I don't ever really use it, but it's nice that it's there. The horn and the turn signals are kind of reversed. That takes a little getting used to. You're gonna beep your horn quite a bit when you're trying to make a turn. You'll figure it out eventually. High, low beam, kill switch, start. Now to start the engine, you have to have the rear brake pulled in. And you gotta pull it in pretty far. If you just lightly, you really gotta pull on it to get it to start. And your side stand cannot be down. There's a disconnect on the ignition. If your side stand is down, you cannot start the bike. So either has to be on the center stand, or the side stand's got to be up to start the bike. Brakes, let's talk brakes. Brakes are linked, but only the back brake is linked, which is this side. So when you use your back brake, a portion of the braking power is distributed to the front brake as well. The front brake is just the front brake only. There's no linkage, nothing. It doesn't activate the back, it's just the front. They're ABS on this model. I believe this is maybe the sport model or touring model or something, because it has the higher windshield. But as you can see, it's got triple piston on the front, the sensors for the ABS. Brakes are pretty good. Not going to complain about the brakes, they do the job. This bike weighs 400, I think it's 420 some wet. Back, same thing, ABS. The air filter, when I got it, the air filter is located under this area here, and you have to take off a lot of these little screws to get this whole piece off, because there's a piece here, there's a piece here. You take them both off. The air filter is not, you can't clean it. Housing, and it screws in. So you take the old one out, you put the new one in. Honda charged me 20 bucks for the air filter. Another thing I noticed about this is there is adjusters for the headlights individually on each side here, so you can individually change the height of each headlight, and that's a beautiful thing to make that so easy, because I mean, if you're going to ride a bike at night, that's crucial. You want those lights where you want those lights, and this one has pretty decent headlights. I did take it out in the dark, and they're not LEDs, so they're not fantastic, but they're pretty good. They do throw a wide beam, and the high beams are super bright. And if you ride, and you ride in the daytime only like I do, they're always on high beam. I leave them on high beam, and that's just for visibility. But another thing I like about the scooter is, it seems like a lot of the newer scooters, they don't integrate the turn signals anymore. They always have them hanging out on stalks. I don't know if the DOT changed, you know, their specifications where they have to do that now, but this is so much more aerodynamic, so much cleaner, so much better looking. So I'm happy with that too. Same thing in the back. The back's ABS. It's dual piston on the back, still disc. One complaint I have about this bike, these shocks have 5 settings on them. They come from the factory set to number 3. You need a spanner wrench to change this so that you can get it in here. It's a little tricky, and you can spin it to whatever setting you want. Here's what I found. I'm 6 foot 160. The 3 setting was a little stiff for my body weight, so I went down to a 2. At 2, beautiful ride, nice and smooth, like a magic carpet just floating down the road. I took my wife for a ride, and you have to realize that because the weight is now so much further back, I had to crank this up to 4, and at 4 it still wasn't enough. So, and my wife's not that heavy, so if you're going to ride a passenger on this, plan on cranking your rear shock up pretty much all the way to 5. The problem is, this side can be adjusted, no problem. This side, you can't get the wrench in there because of the muffler. It's just not enough room. You got the disc on one side, you got the muffler on the other. It won't work. So what I had to do was, I have Tusk spring compressors that work by turning a nut on top, a bolt, and you can squeeze this spring in, and then you can just turn this by hand. So it's a little bit of a hassle to change the settings. It's a little bit of a bad design on Honda's part, that you can't just do it on, you know, you decide you need a passenger and you want to crank up. There's a little forethought that's going to have to go into it. The bike is nice and quiet. Oil changes are super easy. Your oil fill is over here. It takes 1.5 quarts, and your filter is right here. The drain, as you can see, is right there. Nice and easy. You don't have to take any plastic off or anything. So they make it nice and easy for that. Now, I took my wife for a ride. I asked her, what did you think about the ride? Her complaint was, these pegs are kind of angled. As you can see, they kind of angle down. So she felt like her feet were constantly wanting to slide off of the pegs. And I mean, just looking at it, you can see she's exactly right. They're not flat. So I don't know if there's a mod you can do to these, or if I can somehow adjust them to change that. I'm gonna look into that, because they should be flat. As far as the ride, she was happy. The seat's super comfortable. She had this to use as a backrest. So yeah, and it's a little different than a motorcycle when you're riding two people on a scooter, because as you can see, the passenger is so much higher than you. So it kind of really throws your center of gravity. You know, on a scooter, you're used to the center of gravity being so low. I mean, your whole engine is right there. It kind of lays down. So once you throw that passenger off, totally changes the center of gravity. It's noticeable. It's not bad, it's just different. So one of the aspects I do love about scooters is I'm 6 foot tall. You want to stretch your legs out. You can, but if you get cramped, you can move your feet around. You've got everywhere along here to change your seating position. So what scooters do, for me anyway, is they allow me to put a lot of miles on in a single day and still be very, very comfortable. The mirrors are great. Perfect. Love the mirrors. Got great view. Exactly what I need to see. I will trash the shield a little bit. If I was 5'10", it'd be perfect. But being 6 foot, I'm looking right over it, which I'd rather look over my shields than throw them. I'm kind of weird that way. But it makes a buffeting right at your helmet level at 6 foot. So I might get a lip or something that I can put on here. It just needs something to kind of get the air like another inch over your head, and it'd be perfect. So that's something I'm looking into. But this whole area of the passenger and driver is very quiet and calm in this area. About having the elevated seat is she can see. Your passenger doesn't have to look around your shoulder. And anybody who's driven anybody on a motorcycle, you know how annoying it is when people peek around you to the side, because it makes the bike want to turn to that side. So having your passenger being able to see over your head is a beautiful thing, because they don't fidget around so much back there.